Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Insufficient Friends. I'm Kevin. She's Nikki.
Hi.
And, Nick, how was your week?
It was good.
That's
Just
good.
work. And I mean, work is work.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's always work. I can't get over this cough from, last week we were sick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I apologize. I have cough drops. I have water. So
Yeah.
we're going to be...
Mine's been lingering, too.
Yeah.
It's like every time I get sick, ever since COVID, it just lingers for longer.
I've always had... I've always... Ooh, this might be weird to sound for people, but I've always
the
had...
ASMR or whatever.
Yeah, I hope you...
Next we're going to be going
this.
like...
Yeah. I've always had breathing issues. Like, even when I was a kid, I had to do breathing
asthma?
treatments a lot and things. I never had asthma.
Okay.
But I did have to do a lot of breathing treatments. I would get bronchitis and stuff a lot as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Lozenges. Sorry, wrong word. Not cough drops. Lozenges. Tom, you're welcome. Lozenges. And so anytime I get sick, a cough lingers for
A long
like
time.
a month.
Yeah.
And it's just
It sucks when
pain.
we both talk all day long. Like,
Yeah. And we do a podcast.
Both at work and... Yeah. So, it's not helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I have, I think, realized that I did actually have COVID.
I'm sure you did.
And
We were public
mainly,
facing.
no, like this last week.
Oh, that's different.
Because your former boss and my boss at the bank keeps blaming me for giving her COVID because she
has it now?
She tested positive, I guess, and was not there a couple days this week, and then
Yeah.
is back, and now she's just blaming me for it, which is hilarious.
There were a lot of
But-
people that had COVID this winter and are still getting it into the spring.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not great.
It's not as it wasn't as bad for me this time as it was when I had it the
Felt
first
more
time years
like
ago.
I had a suspicion that that's what I had too, but I didn't take a COVID test.
I didn't
because I
either.
work from home. I don't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Or I talk to everyone, but not face to face.
Yeah.
And so I didn't test, but that was my suspicion too because it lingered just like it did because I've had COVID several times.
Yeah.
So
When I started to get sick last week, I did take a day off work. So I didn't. I tried to not be around people, but
Yeah.
it's only so much you can do.
yeah.
Anyway,
Shout outs, right?
Yeah, we got. I gotta hold on. I gotta find this thing.
I
need
love
to
when people
prepare for
actually
this.
talk to us.
Yeah. So we do have a couple shout. You said you had one.
I have one.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. So my friend Leah, hi Leah, she
Leah.
messaged and said that she just started listening. She started with the One Direction episode.
Okay.
So my finest moment.
Yeah.
Sorry, Leah.
Our behind the scenes was
Yeah.
pretty funny with that because you texted me one day like you said you normally listen, but you said you didn't listen to that
I didn't
one.
listen to that one. I couldn't. I knew I would cringe the whole time because I know it's, yeah. Anyways, thanks for listening, Leah. I'm excited that she's listening. And so, yeah, fun stuff.
Okay.
What
And,
shout outs do you have?
on YouTube, we did have a new person who I haven't seen on here say hi, and that's literally all they said. And I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this. It looks like it's Hans, Hannes. So hello,
Interesting.
Hans.
Hi, Hans. I don't know you, but hi.
Yeah. And then I want to say hello. We in the past month, the past
Mm-hmm.
28 days, so 4 weeks, we've had 10 new subscribers. We've added 10
wow.
subscribers. So hello, everybody.
That's a lot for us.
Yeah, this is because that's like now a third of our subscriber base.
Yeah.
So hello everybody. If you're
killing
new,
it.
this is a podcast about literally anything we want to talk about.
Yes.
So
Welcome.
welcome, and we hope you enjoy because we sure will enjoy.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
this week we're talking about the Vatican and the
Yes.
Catholic Church and the Vatican in general. So start off. This is not meant to be a hit piece on the Vatican.
Oh, yes. Disclaimer.
Yes. One, they have better lawyers than we do because we don't have any.
Yeah.
And two, that's not what we're here to do. So
No.
it's not meant to attack the
I'm
Vatican.
Catholic. I grew up Catholic, so this is not, but we do find it fascinating. And so we're not going to be, easy on them or anything. It's
Yeah.
just, everything is fascinating.
Yeah,
So
we're not
that's
going to
the
shy away from stuff because we know
Yeah.
that there's records of, and in the past and now of the Catholic Church being shady.
Yes,
and,
so we
and
will
having
focus on
scandals.
those aspects, but it is not a
you know,
bashing.
She was Catholic, or is Catholic.
Yeah.
Is, whatever. My dad wants to be the Pope. I don't know why, because we're not Catholic. Never were Catholic. He still thinks he can be the Pope. He says he's going to bring new meaning to the popehood, is what he told me. And
Interesting.
I work with a guy, Tom, who also wants to be Pope. Don't know how these two people, they're both about the same age, so that is odd. But they both want to be Pope, and neither one of them have ever been Catholic, and I don't understand the fascination with the popehood.
I mean, I get the fascination because it is like the biggest monarchy in the world.
It is, but why not just say king then? Like, why the
Because it's a different type of fascination. When it's just a royal family, it's like, whatever. Yes, it's very interesting. I love royal family history, as you know. But when you combine that aspect with religion and the billions of people, it's like 1.5 billion or something that's Catholic. I forget the stat, but
it's bigger than any monarchy.
So when you combine that leads to a lot of fascination, for sure.
I guess. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. So anyway, let's start with
Catholicism
just
in general.
Because I don't know that much about Catholicism. Again, am not Catholic.
I mean, even growing up in it, there are aspects that I do not understand. I mean, there are times, and we just went to Palm Sunday Mass 2 weeks ago because it's the week right before Easter. And
Sunday is the week before Easter?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was the week before Easter, or 2 weeks.
Easter was last week, wasn't it? Yeah.
Anyways, it was recent. This is how much I'm great at being a Catholic. I went with my dad and my aunt, and they had all the statues covered in purple shrouds. And I didn't know the symbolism of that because after looking it up later, some churches do it, some don't. It depends on how strict they are on different things. But even I asked my dad, who has been on here before, was in the seminary, and he's like, I think it's maybe this. So there's a lot of aspects of it that, like any, hierarchical structure, there's flexibility in certain things. So some churches do things a little differently than others.
Yeah.
But in general, it's the same, mass structure and things like that.
Okay.
But Roman Catholicism, it's a Christian church. So there's 3 main Christian branches: Eastern Orthodoxy, Protestantism, and Roman Catholicism.
Okay.
So Protestantism has a lot of different branches, especially here in the U.S.
Yeah, that's when you get
Baptist,
to the Baptist,
Lutheran,
all those,
So that's one. So it's one of the 3 major branches. And I am not a religious scholar, but that's my understanding.
Okay.
So it's led by the Pope, and then there's people underneath him. So there's bishops, there's cardinals. It's very much a hierarchy, almost like a monarchy type structure, because they are in so many different countries and control so many different regions. You have to have that structure.
Except instead of being born into it, you get voted into it.
Yeah.
There is some sort of kind of, I guess, like a democracy, because you do kind of vote, the cardinals do vote.
To my understanding, it's Pope. Not like the people voting.
It's the cardinals.
Yeah, it's like a certain council. I don't know if that's the right word. See or council. There's different words for different things, but yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they get voted in.
Yeah. Anyway,
at least to my understanding.
No, I know they get voted in,
so
but I don't know how that happens. I don't know how the decision happens.
Yeah, I've seen the cool videos of they do the different color smokes when they coming up from the building when they've decided or not.
Black smoke when they haven't decided.
Yeah, and it is cool to see how excited people get and antsy people get. But so that's Catholicism, and then so we're gonna talk a lot about Vatican City, the Vatican, and the Vatican archives today. So Vatican City is its own enclave in Rome, Italy. It's its own country. Yes, it's the world's smallest fully independent nation state. Yeah. I don't know if it's technically a country, but it's a nation state. It usually hovers around 3/4
of a square mile or something like that. It's very small.
So it usually hovers around 800 people in population. I think last year it was 825.
Okay.
So that's the Vatican City where the Pope and some of the people live. But that's That's HQ. That's the headquarters. So we watched kind of a tangent.
Yeah.
But part of our discussions on not, bashing anyone, but just being honest and real with some of the, not conspiracies, just like, what's a better word for it? Scandals, I guess.
Yeah, scandals is a good one.
Yeah.
I don't know that I consider this a
It might be a conspiracy. I guess we don't know because it's unsolved.
Yeah.
But we watched the Vatican Girl on Netflix about the disappearance
Spoilers.
of Emanuela Orlandi. And so this was almost 40 years ago now. When the documentary was filmed, it was like 36, and the documentary is a couple years old.
1983?
Yeah.
So was it 83?
Something like that. It's around 40 years ago. And so she disappeared from Vatican City, which is unheard of because there's not that many people there and they all know each other. There's lots of different theories, but what was your take from an outsider point of view? What was your take on watching the Vatican
She
Girl?
disappeared in Rome because she disappeared outside of the city.
Yeah, she left the city. Yep.
She left the city to go to school. She disappeared when she
a music
never,
lesson, I think,
to,
right?
to music to her music school, and she disappeared when she never came home, or she never met up with her sister, which she was supposed to do after her music lesson. So there's a lot of belief that the Vatican is involved, or the Vatican knows what happened.
Yeah.
And this documentary pointed that out a lot. It's 4 parts, so it's 4 hours long. They're each about an hour.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting story.
It is. It really is.
There's only one real thing that I thought in the whole documentary that tied the Vatican to her disappearance in any way, shape, or form. They tried to tie it to it, and they made a lot of comments like, "Oh, well, if the Pope said this, he must have known something." Well, no, he just made it like
that was the biggest.
They talked about
they were trying to tie it in, but I wasn't sure if it really worked because they basically said because the Pope came out and made these remarks like, "I am speaking to whoever took her, whatever the situation was." We want her to be home safe, things like that. And people thought because of the way he worded that, he knew she was alive, knew who did it. Like it.
But that
they tried to.
Yeah, it seemed like they were trying to tie that to it. Yeah. There was the whole document in the last episode.
Yeah.
Where it has like her supposed like them paying for things for her in London.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Everything else was just kind of like a bunch of stories. And I didn't understand the third episode in this. There is an entire hour where they spend talking to a guy who they then say doesn't have anything to do with the disappearance.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wondered at that point, like, why is this even in here then?
Was that the mysterious caller? Because it's been a while since I watched it. Okay, yeah, the American.
Who they called the American.
Or didn't fake an Italian accent, but he was speaking Italian when he made this mysterious call that he was very much American. Yeah.
But they basically came to the conclusion that he just is a person who wants to be in the limelight and doesn't actually have anything to do with the disappearance. So my question is why did we need to spend an hour on him if he doesn't have anything to do with the disappearance?
I'm assuming it's because when I watch documentaries like this, I feel like they try to put you in the investigator's shoes and put you in the shoes of the people who are coming up with these theories and actually working on the case. And so I'm sure they spent a massive amount of time following this lead. And so maybe they were just trying to, bring us into that.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But I feel like you could have done that in less than an hour.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been a footnote in a section, not an entire hour where they're having an interview, because they had a full-on interview with this guy, and then even had snippets of an interview that he did in the early 90s or early 2000s.
Yeah, because this was a while ago. So I was assuming, because I had the same thought, I'm like, they're talking about this guy for a long time. I'm assuming it's probably because that lead took up so much time, just like a couple of the other leads that didn't pan out.
Yeah.
It's like maybe they just want to highlight that took up so much resources of the investigation.
Yeah. And
I don't know. Maybe it's to just embarrass this guy.
The other one was one of the journalists who talked a lot in this. He made the comment several times that he talked about Occam's razor, which the Occam's razor is the idea that the simplest answer is the most probable answer. Instead of if anyway, simplest answer is always the most probable.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head to explain it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And yet, so they talk about that. They talk about how it was originally, the original calls said that they wanted to have this girl released for the guy who shot the Pope and tried to assassinate the Pope in 82, I believe is what it was. So a year before she disappeared.
Like yeah.
And I just kind of thought, like, why this girl?
Yeah.
What is this girl? Because he mentioned this too. He said, if you wanted to do it, why wouldn't you kidnap a cardinal or a bishop or something? You're going to kidnap the daughter of a Vatican servant who
just like a normal employee.
It's just she's this. I hope this doesn't sound terrible, but she's just a girl.
Like if you're trying
there's no
to
significance
send a message,
to her.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Which is terrible to say because I mean,
but I get the point of if that truly was their theory, they would have gone after someone higher ranking.
Yeah.
It's this is totally irrelevant, but it makes me think of that. Okay, so remember when Kim Kardashian was married to that one basketball player, Chris
like
Chris
78
Humphries?
days or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. And then she went on TV after and she was asked, like, did you do it just for fame? And she's like, if I was going to do that for fame, wouldn't I marry someone famous?
Yeah.
It just gives the same vibe of what you just said.
It's the same idea. Like, it is the same idea.
Like, why would you not go someone higher up?
Yeah. So I don't understand that, and I think there was again a lot of time trying to tie the Vatican to this more than there really was.
Yeah.
Couple things that I found really interesting was when they opened the tomb several years ago. They talked about that, and there wasn't anybody inside of it. Not even the bodies that were supposed to be inside of it, which is weird.
It is. Yeah.
And two, whenever they talked about the disappearance, one of the people said, well, you need to go to this basilica and find out who's buried there because that will tell you what happened.
Yeah.
And when they went there, the person that's buried in it is a mob boss, which is weird that a mob boss would be buried in a Vatican-owned
And
church.
so I think that's part of it is they thought the Pope and the Vatican had something to do with the Italian mafia. And
Which
there
I'm
were
sure it did at
which
times.
There probably were some legit connections there. So that was one of their theories, yes. Yeah.
Which makes sense. But again, why is the mob going to get involved? Like, why is the mob? The mob's not going to kidnap some just normal girl.
If they were trying to get, money from the kidnapping, her parents were just normal people, like not anything. They don't make a lot. Like that. It just doesn't make sense unless it was just a crime of opportunity type of thing. Like she had gone to her music lesson, she was on her way home, but got kidnapped or something. Like not because of ransom or anything. It was just a crime. Yeah. There's that. And there's just people that think she ran away because her life was very strict. Yeah. Very formal.
Which is possible.
Yeah. So she was selling Avon makeup products on the side, or I think it was Avon.
Well, they talked, that was
so some people
the
think
guy
she
who
just
was,
ran away. Yeah.
The guy who contacted her. That was the last thing that she said to somebody was that
she was going to go sell makeup.
She was contacted by somebody or approached by somebody who was selling Avon. Who wanted her to sell Avon products.
So that could be a plausible. Like everything is just so open because there weren't any solid leads that I could determine, at least from watching
it doesn't seem like there was any ever really solid leads because everyone that they had was kind of a crapshoot. Yeah. Yep. Which is, I
feel like we're back in our true crime episode.
And also the talking about, like, they talked about eventually, like, oh, well, the Pope Francis said, well, she's dead. Yeah. Well, she's in heaven. And they're like, well, how can you know that? Well, she's
Just
been missing
assuming,
for
yeah.
30 years now. She's probably not alive anymore. Like,
Yeah.
just
Unless she literally ran away and made a whole new life
Yeah.
because she didn't want to live.
But
under
that's
the
not what
scruples.
normally happens when you all of a sudden disappear
No,
like this.
I would say that's very rare to
you
vanish
disappear,
without a trace.
you're usually dead
when
within
you're that
a few
young.
years.
Yeah. Yeah.
If not a few days. So,
Yep.
and that's terrible, but it's just kind of the way that it
No,
ends
it's
up
just
being.
statistics. Yeah.
So yeah, it was very interesting. So we do recommend it. We do recommend it.
It's a good documentary.
It's a very good documentary.
And it was very popular a couple of years ago. So, I mean, some of our viewers may have already seen it. But
You do have to kind of watch it. Like, actually watch it.
Yes, you have to pay attention.
Well, not even
most
just
of
that. Like, I don't have a lot of time in the afternoon, so I was trying to get through it.
Yeah.
So I was also listening to it, like, in the car and listening to it when I was taking a shower.
Yeah.
And
It's
there
hard to listen to.
is
to watch.
a good amount of
They show different.
Italian,
Yeah.
like, dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's
The
where they
captioning.
don't actually say it. So a lot of it is translated. But there's a good amount where it's not.
Yeah. So you have to.
So you do have to kind of watch and know what's going on. And it does jump around a little bit sometimes. But overall, it was a good documentary.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we've covered Catholicism in the Vatican City.
And the
So,
missing girl. Vatican
yes.
Girl, yes.
And then now let's talk about the Vatican Palace. So the palace is the papal residence in Vatican City.
Okay.
And so that's comprised of lots of different areas like St. Peter's Basilica. There's lots of different things like the Sistine Chapel. There's Raphael's rooms. There's the museums and galleries. And then the library and the archives. And I guess they were separated a while ago. So now it's separate library, separate archives. And
Yeah, because the archives are,
yeah.
well, they used to be translated as the secret archives. Now, I know the Vatican
Yes.
doesn't say that they are secret.
Yeah.
They kind of
Because
are
it
because you
was
can't
like
go see
a-
it.
Yeah. I have the
Into
I
them?
have like the access policy. It's crazy. I'll talk about that in a little bit, like what you have to do to get in.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like an application of things. But yeah, so the Vatican secret archives, the word secret comes from an old Latin translation that doesn't translate quite right. It really just
Yeah.
means like private.
Yeah.
Like private room or something like that. So it's not secret, and they actually changed the name a couple of years ago because they didn't want that image, I guess,
Yeah.
especially with all the scandals. They do, it seems like, from what I read from Britannica and different articles, it seems like they do open it up to more people than they normally do, or open up different areas. If there's like a scandal involving someone and they want to prove, you know, something, they'll give access to a different part.
Yeah.
But in general, some of it is still very private, and then some of it. So the access policy, it is crazy, which makes sense because it's one of the best archives in the world.
Yeah.
And weirdest, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But so to get in, you have to be a distinguished and qualified scholar from an institution of higher education, like pursuing a specific research topic.
Yep.
And you have to have knowledge of archival research, how to handle things like that. Because they've digitized some, but like 25%, like
But
not
it's
at all.
all
They haven't
old. It's
hardly
all old
touched it at all.
papers
Yeah.
and things. Yeah.
So then they have to give all their personal information, name, address, and that all has to be verified along with the purpose of their research, or if it's a journalist, whatever. They are only allowed to bring in paper, pencil, and a laptop. No ink, anything like that. No digital photography. And then they can only request 5 items at a time. Items or articles. And only 60 people per day are allowed inside, which sounds like a lot. But when you think about like a massive institution like that, like imagine if the New York City Public Library only let 60 people in a day.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. So
And that's
that's what you have to be to get into the archive.
And you have to
Unless you have special clearance or something like that.
reapply every 6 months.
Yeah.
They can revoke your access at any time.
Yeah, at any point.
And
Which makes sense. It's a private institution. Yeah.
it is, but it's kind of makes it to where it's one of those things where if you were looking for something, you're never gonna find it.
Yeah.
Because if you can only request 5 things at a time,
Yeah.
and they're only like even if all 60 people were looking for the same thing,
Yeah. And that's for like research.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds like when there's a scandal or something, they will open up their rules and allow certain journalists certain privileges so they can prove that they're not doing shady stuff or whatever. But that sounds like it's pretty rare from what I read. So,
yeah.
That's
50
very interesting.
50, it was something huge. I don't remember how many miles of shelving they said was in the Vatican
It's
archives.
massive.
It's massive. It's one central location under the Vatican City. There have been leaks of documents, but I don't think it was from the archives. There was a few years ago, it was called VatiLeaks.
Yeah.
Where apparently they determined the butler was leaked a bunch of personal information. I don't remember if it was for the archives or just from like a personal safe or something in the Vatican, but I don't know if the butler was actually a fall guy or what, but anyway, that's what happened. That's who they determined did it.
Was the main culprit.
And there's always been things, but some of the weird things in the Vatican archives.
Yeah. There are some
So
very odd things.
there's a claim that there is basically a time machine in there.
Yes.
It's called the coronavisor.
Yes.
And it's not like
Corona or Krona?
Chronovisor.
Chronovisor?
Okay. Chronovisor, something like that. Anyway, it's based from what theory or what people talk about is.
Yeah.
It's like a TV screen in a box,
basically,
that you can look at and hear the past. Anytime in the past you want to.
Which makes total sense.
You can follow a person's history in the past. But the Vatican will not, they won't confirm or deny that it's there.
Yeah.
But the story of it is weird in general. Anyway.
Yeah. So I can tell the story briefly. So
please.
Marcello Ernetti, a Roman Catholic priest, had all these weird claims, and then finally he announced he was part of this team that had made this time machine.
Which included like a few well-named scientists.
Yeah. It was very odd. So then he went on to say he witnessed the crucifixion of Jesus and brought back a photo that he took with the chronovisor, because there was apparently a photography machine built into it too. And the photo showed Jesus on the cross. And then the photo was proved to be false. Yep. And
it was like a reverse image of a well-known like wood carving
of a
or something
postcard.
like that. Yeah.
Literally a postcard. Yeah. So then everyone's like, well, now this whole thing is fake, but no one will confirm or deny.
Yes. Which is random.
Yeah. It's one of the multitude of things in here that you're just like, why?
Yeah. Also and this is just in the Vatican in general, not necessarily the archives, is they believe that the St. Peter was buried in the Vatican.
Yeah.
I don't really know the story of St. Peter.
I don't either.
I know it's.
I went to mass there.
It's
in the basilica
after him.
Yeah,
like the basilica is. I don't really know who he was, but
I don't know.
Apparently he was somebody important.
Yeah.
What, you've been to the Vatican?
Yeah, I went to mass in St. Peter's Basilica, not with the Pope, just with the cardinal, I think. But it was really cool. And then after, or it was either, I think it was before we went to mass, we went into like the Sistine Chapel and things, which is so pretty. You can't take pictures. I don't have any pictures from the Vatican because almost everywhere is like a no picture zone. But it was really cool. They have the Swiss Guard. Yeah. We went into the Sistine Chapel. We got blessed because it was with a study abroad program. So those of us that considered ourselves to be Catholic could get blessed by, this cardinal that was there in the Sistine Chapel. It was pretty cool.
So they don't hold mass or anything in the Sistine Chapel then?
Not in the Sistine Chapel, to my understanding.
The Sistine Chapel is the one with Michelangelo's painting on the ceiling, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the most well-known one. St. Peter's Basilica is the actual church, and that's where we went to mass. So I think that's where all the mass is held.
Okay.
And it's massive. It's gorgeous.
Oh, I'm sure
it's so ornate.
I don't. I mean,
there was a lot of money spent there, which is whole nother topic. I think I did read somewhere that the Vatican, it was like 2019 or 2020. I probably have my years wrong, but there was 1 year recently where they spent more than Apple brought in.
Which is just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. They spend a lot of money. Granted, they have 1.5. Again, I'm not a stats person, but I read 1.5 billion
Followers?
Yes.
Yeah.
So imagine
which is a lot
multitude of churches and expenses and yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if
Mission trips and which I have issues with, but
1.5 billion people.
Yeah.
Even again, if each person donated $1 a year, that's still $1.5 billion.
Yeah. So.
And we know people
Crazy.
donate a lot more than $1.
I know. Yeah. I gave $2 of my dad's money. I'd mess.
Okay.
Yeah, no, craziness. It's so ornate and so pretty. But the whole time you're walking around there, you're just like, huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very mysterious is a good word for when you're walking around there. It's just overwhelming with the policies, the procedures, not just of the tourist areas, but just the Vatican in itself. So, yeah. But anyways, back to weird things that are in the archives.
Yeah, there's also apparently like the largest collection of porn.
I saw that.
Which is weird.
Yeah, and then the funniest thing I saw was there are genuinely people that think Lucifer, like Satan, is kept there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's beliefs that he's kept there. There is
in like a dungeon
the
underneath
Vatican
the archives.
has basically confirmed, not the extent of it, but there are basically spell books.
Yeah, like the black magic
the
grimoire or whatever.
The grimoires. Because apparently, I didn't know this, but one of the books of the Bible, I guess the original books, was basically that. It was not put into what we have now. And there's stories that it can summon the devil, like that parts of it can summon the devil. Now, you can find the Grand Grimoire on Amazon. But there's reports like obviously we don't have stories about the devil being summoned all the time. So there's different thoughts on if that's really the one that's being published is not edited down to a kind of normalcy, and the one in the Vatican actually has
like the
secret
older
powers.
Stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. One of the weird. Yes, I was literally just gonna say, for a church that believes that God took, a single morning to make the universe, and then it's like 5 days or something to, perfect to the earth. How they confirm the aliens doesn't connect in my mind, because they've almost basically confirmed it.
Well,
they're weirdly okay with it.
Yeah, there's been priests and I think even popes that have said like, yeah, if there's I would have no problem blessing an alien. Like, God created the universe, not just the earth. So
I guess that kind of makes sense.
Their idea is
the whole universe.
God created the universe.
Yeah.
If he created other beings like us, then they worship the same. They may worship the same God.
I guess
or they fall under the same God. So that's kind of the idea.
Yeah. It's just weird to me.
Yeah.
I guess that goes hand in hand with uncovering artifacts. Like, so many people think the pyramids are connected to aliens. Like it seems like every old artifact you come across has some type of alien theory with it.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that if you have this archive full of all those objects that people think a certain way about, it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, the Vatican archives are just kind of crazy in general.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing that they have there
or reportedly have there.
No, that they actually do have it. It's a letter from Mary, Queen of Scots, to the Pope, begging for her life before she was executed.
Yep.
And the Pope obviously didn't interfere because she was executed. I was like, that's very interesting. Little pieces of history like that are so tragic. I feel like you just read it and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this letter exists.
Yeah. Well, there's also This one got me too, because this was in the Vatican Girl story. They talked about this, and it was a little odd to me the way they talked about it. But what's the three? Is it the three secrets or the three prophecies of Fatima or whatever? Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that.
Okay, so apparently 3 kids a long time ago claimed that they saw the Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary spoke to them and told them 3 things. Told them 3 different, basically, prophecies. 2 of them the Vatican has released, and we know what they were. I don't remember what they were, but it's confirmed that what they were. The third one the Vatican has never actually released. They said years after that the third one was not interesting. It was the attempted assassination on the Pope, and that's what they used in the that's what they talked about in the Vatican Girl documentary.
Yeah.
But there's controversies to that, because there's a lot of people that don't believe that that was actually the third prophecy, because they said that there's no reason. Like, the third prophecy is believed to be like the end of the world.
Yeah.
And even Pope, I think it was Pope Benedict, before he became Pope, he made a comment that that's not what the third prophecy was. That there was a lot of information that was left out of that prophecy. But when he became Pope, he denied that. He completely reversed course.
Oh, weird.
So that's another weird one that doesn't really make sense. Which I don't really believe in prophecies. I feel like a lot of times they're too vague to really know what they are.
Yeah, it could come true in a multitude of ways.
Yeah. So it could be anything. But I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, another random thing. There was who was it? Pope Leo the 10th. I think capital X is 10.
X is 10. Yep.
His pet elephant skeleton.
Yeah, which is weird.
It was a weird one. But I mean, there's people that, their animals pass away and then they have what is it called when you
taxidermy?
Stuff? Yes. Like, I guess it's kind of the same thing. I don't know when Pope Leo the 10th was Pope, but if that was a while ago, maybe they didn't have that. I feel like that's been around for a long time.
Yeah, they've done taxidermy for a long time.
Because you see those in like the 1100s Scottish castles.
Pope Leo X he died in 1521, so long time ago.
Long time ago, but they still would have had taxidermy. So I don't know why it's just a skeleton, but
he was
maybe
Pope
can you taxidermy an elephant?
1513 to 1521.
That's a question I never thought I would ask on a
you
podcast
can, because
about.
I've seen like
You can.
I've seen taxidermied elephants before, in museums and stuff. I've seen them before.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you can.
I've seen a fake woolly mammoth. Doesn't like the Chicago.
I think the
Chicago that has a big like.
Is it the Museum of History?
Yeah, natural.
They have some dinosaurs and stuff too in there, and if I remember correctly, they have Sue, which is the most complete T-Rex skeleton.
Oh, that's in
found.
Chicago?
I believe so.
Interesting. Yeah, I just remember seeing a big woolly mammoth somewhere. I don't know if it was Chicago or not.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I don't know. But yeah, the Vatican.
Yeah, I think that's about the
Catholic
weirdest
Church.
Things I saw on the list of weird things. Yeah.
It's interesting because it is, like you said, it is kind of like a monarchy.
Yeah. There's just so much mystery and fascination with it, and even growing up in it, I still don't fully comprehend everything. And so even going there and being there, it's still all a mystery to me.
Yeah.
And so to think of how much of a mystery it is to people outside of Catholicism is crazy.
Yeah, I don't have a clue, because it's all just a big. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. The Pope. My dad has asked me this before, and I don't know if you know the answer to this. Does the Pope get a salary?
Oh, I mean, he gets a palace and all his trips paid for.
So
because they're all technically, he doesn't do anything besides, either hold mass, pray. Like he has, what is it called when you like recuse yourself and have private time for a couple of days to pray? I forget what it's called. But then when he goes on trips and things around the world to different Catholic churches and places like
obviously the Catholic
he
Church
doesn't
owns
pay for
everything.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they own the helicopters. They
so
own the
I don't know
planes,
if he
everything.
gets a salary or not, but he sure has an easy life in
everything's
that
paid
sense.
for.
Yeah.
I think my dad asked though, like, if the Pope wants a McDonald's sandwich, do they just bring him a McDonald's
Well,
sandwich?
he probably has like multiple staff and.
But sometimes you just want a McDonald's cheeseburger. Sometimes you just want
I
a Big
don't
Mac.
know if the Pope thinks about McDonald's. First of all, Italy, I don't even know if they have. They might have McDonald's, but it's not the same. Because when
No, it's
we were
probably
over
not the
there,
same.
it was different menus and things like that. It
Yeah.
wasn't like it is here. They don't have Starbucks. They don't have there's a lot of things in Italy they don't have because they're so protective of their culture, their, homegrown cooking and coffee
Okay.
and espresso and things. So they're very protective over that. So I don't know that he would ever want McDonald's.
Yeah, but he travels. He's come to other countries. So, maybe
he's gonna go through the drive-through.
Yeah, I mean, in the
Colombia.
Pope-mobile, come on. Why wouldn't you take the Pope-mobile through a drive-through?
I don't know.
I mean,
if I was Pope, I wouldn't want McDonald's, but
hey, sometimes you don't realize.
at least give me Culver's or something, just a little bit up.
Well, okay, fine. I don't really care which one you get, but like, just want a cheeseburger. Like,
Yeah.
I just want something
I'm
like
sure
that.
he would just have someone make it for him.
Probably, but sometimes you just want
Yeah.
the meh food.
I get it. Once a quarter, I get a craving for White Castle, and then so every 3 months I make a White Castle trip.
I have not
get
had
it.
White Castle in years because I got
Yeah.
pretty sure I got food poisoning one
Probably.
time, and
That's why I only.
and
get
I
it
don't know
once
if
a
I
quarter.
got food poisoning or if I just
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. After I had it one time, I got really sick, and I was just
Oh,
like,
it doesn't make you
nope,
feel
done.
good. It's just like, you get cravings for things and they're bad for you, but you just have to have it like once every couple months or something.
And I
That's it for
had
me.
that with White Castle for a while, and then I got sick, and I'm like, nope, don't ever.
Yeah.
I haven't had that.
I've heard that
feeling
story
again.
from a lot of people.
And I think there's people that do it for a lot of places. Like I've known people for restaurants they don't go anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, well, I got sick after going there, and I think if you get sick after going somewhere, it's gonna turn you off to it.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
Mine's Olive Garden, and I think it's the salad that upsets my stomach. I don't know, but
I love Olive Garden,
that's
so
I used to love it.
Yeah.
But just like you just said, a couple bad experiences. For most people, one bad experience
Yeah.
and you're done.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Do you have a fun fact today? Mine is related to, the Vatican archives and things. Do you have a fun fact today?
give me a second, I will.
Okay, well, you want me to go first?
Sure,
then?
go for it. Oh, hold on. I
know you gotta do the fact bomb.
There we go. I feel like we had a lot of fun facts with the Vatican archives and things. So
Yeah.
but
I
anyway.
guess I kind of have two because we didn't. This was one thing I was going to mention and I forgot to mention it earlier. So the first fun fact is that Napoleon, when he conquered, everything in that area, actually requested all of the Vatican archives to be brought to Paris. And a little bit of, artifacts and things were lost along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But then when, he was no longer ruling, and the Vatican had to buy them back and raise funds to buy their archive back, it's estimated, some historians estimate that 1/4 or even up to a third of the archival documents, property, statues, whatever, was lost along the way and never made it back to the Vatican archives. So with all the things that are in the archives today,
There's still a bunch of stuff
there's
that was lost.
probably, a fourth or a third that was lost in whatever that Napoleon was like 1810-ish area. So that's crazy to think about. And then my second fun fact about the archives is Johannes Gutenberg was German Catholic, born in Germany. And the Gutenberg Bible, the first print off his printing press was a Catholic Bible. So that's my second fun fact.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird, interesting fun facts about
Yeah.
this topic.
Well, you mentioned earlier that the Catholic Church spends more money than Apple brings in, which is weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. So that's a lot. But the other thing about the church is it's the only Christian church that is more than 1,000 years old. Or
yes, I did read that. It's the oldest branch of Christianity.
yeah.
Because Judaism is separate from Christianity.
Actually, it was the only Christian church for the first 1,000 years of Christian history.
Yes,
And then
the Roman
all
Catholic Church,
other Christian religions
denominations
branched off from it at some
Mm-hmm.
point.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
It is. It really is.
So basically, it's every
Yeah.
religion is some part Catholic.
And that's why there's so much debate
Or
about
every
the different
Christian.
versions of the Bible, because the original Bible, to my understanding, was Catholic and in its entirety, and then people edit out things along the way to fit their denomination. So there's a lot of debate there.
Isn't a lot of the Bible translated from Hebrew? Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I believe so.
isn't Hebrew a Jew? Isn't that like a Jewish?
Yeah, Judaism.
Judaism is even older than that.
From what I understand, the Jews were the first not prophets, followers of Jesus,
Yeah.
and so that was the first Jesus God-centered religion. I'm not a historical scholar.
Well,
I'm a financial advisor, so I don't know.
I feel like I remember when I went to church, the what they said was Jesus was a Jew, wasn't he? Like,
yes.
yeah.
Wasn't that in that cartoon we watched?
I don't remember.
I think it was. Anyways, yes, I think that's correct. Judaism was the original Jesus and God-centered religion, to my understanding.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, unless you have something else, I think that's about it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Enjoyed us
Again, that was
being scholars.
we're not historians.
We just like to talk about nonsense that's interesting to us.
Yeah, and this is more nonsense that's interesting to us.
Oh, stay tuned for Wednesday. We'll have a movie episode coming out about Damsel, starring Millie Bobby Brown. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and that was fun. So watch that with us. We're going to record that like now.
Yep.
So, but it won't come out till Wednesday. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.